Hello. Today I'm recording try to record a quick video, because it's something I've been working on for a little while now. By a little while, I mean like over a year. So, and I think I've finally finished it for now. Basically, something I've been interested in is what the Pokemon community calls a super boss, right? When you think of, red on top of Mount Silver, or, you know, Stephen and Meteor Falls and stuff like that. That's a super boss trainer. They're really hard trainers that are like an optional boss fight, essentially. And I've seen a lot of different people call them a lot of different things, or like label certain things as super boss fights, which I didn't exactly agree with. So I spent a lot of time thinking up of basically a criteria or a rule set that they must follow in order to be considered a Superboss trainer. Um, and then I've documented every single one. I made a spreadsheet of every single one's teams, and I have images pulled up here, but I'm not really going to look at these right now. And I have them in a tier list, and I'm going to rank them all. It's going to be kind of subjective. I'm still going to rank them on how much I like them, basically, but I'm going to take into account like how strong their teams are, how hard they are to find, whether a team has like, are they holding items, are they competitively trained or whatever. But in the end, it is going to be based on how much I like them. So we're going to get right into it. I'll read off my criteria and some examples and whatnot so people understand everything, because it is a little confusing. And just to be clear, this is all also like pretty like in the end, this is just my definition. If you want to consider something on here that I haven't included as Super Boss, be my guest. This is just what I am defining as my Super Boss trainer. So basically, here it is. I'll read it out. Must have at least a full team of 6 Pokemon. Must have an average team level of at least 70. Must be challenged in non-multi battle. Does not be part of the present game's Pokemon League. And Coliseum and XD open level battles and battle mode will also be excluded. At the bottom of this little thing, I've got a little bit of a justification. I'll keep it short. Basically, 70 or having full team of 6 Pokemon, I found necessary because, having an advantage of at least like one Pokemon is enough to, not make the battle difficult anymore. Uh, Having an average level of at least 70, I think, is relevant because it's high enough where like later game players will find the battle challenging, and it's also basically keeping the category of super boss lower, exclusive to a low number of trainers, because if the number was too high, it wouldn't really be, it loses its value or whatever. Um, Multi battles should not be included. I'm stating this purposely because there are, when I was making this whole thing, there are a number of multi battles where the opposite team is a full team of 6 and over 70. But since you have a full team of 6 and you're battling on someone else, you guys have 9 Pokemon, which gives you like a pretty ridiculous number advantage in my opinion. So that's why multi battles aren't there. And trainers that are as far as the league are not considered super bosses because of their accessibility slash availability. Basically, they're just too common. Because if you go fight the Elite Four, be the champion, you can walk right back into that room, and they will all be like level 70 plus with six full team of 6 in some games. And I just don't really see that as something that the super boss should be something that you are going out of your way to find, or something like a bonus, or should be basically the only way to experience that fight should be through the super boss, which there's are exceptions in some cases, but we'll get to those. And lastly, open level battles are excluded because they're Coliseum and XD are kind of weird. I haven't beat those games yet. I'm still in the middle of Coliseum, and my GameCube just died on me, so I probably won't finish it for a while. But Coliseum XD, they seem to have a lot of battles that are open level format, basically meaning uh, the opponent's team will always match your team level no matter what. So you can just go in with a full team of level 100s, and you'll fight. Your opponent will also have 6 Pokemon that are all level 100, which is kind of cool. But for the sake of like this list, number one, there'd be a million of them because like the entire post game of Coliseum and XD are just all open level battles. Um, and yeah, and then also Pokemon XD and Coliseum, they have the level 100 battles in their battle mode where you just fight 100 trainers that are all set to level 100, which I think it's not exactly story mode. It's just you go because like if you, a lot of people haven't played Coliseum XD, so when you open up that game, you choose to play the story, or you can choose to play basically Pokemon Stadium, where you pick your own Pokemon and you just go fight just like a gauntlet essentially. And that's what their battle mode is. So I'm just not considering battle modes because it's not in a story mode. Aside from that, I think I've covered everything. Some examples, real quickly. Emerald Steven. He's not champion because he's not champion in Emerald. He has a full team of six and then have an average level of 76, so he's in. Simple as that. Here's one that a lot of people do um, talk about and say is a super boss, but I don't consider them. Black and White veteran Sean from Challenger's Cave. He's got a full team of six. He's fought in the post game. He's not in the league, but his average level is below 70, which is and you're out. Too bad. Sucks to suck. But uh, here's another. Let's see. Oh yeah, veteran Aristo from Ultra Moon, which I actually haven't fought yet. I'm going to fight him when I beat Ultra Moon again. Um, but yeah, but a lot of people say, oh, he's just like he's a super boss in Ultra Moon, which he's not. But he only has five Pokemon. His average level is less than 70. I didn't put his levels here, but you can trust me on that one. Here's another one that everyone likes to talk about, Volo. He's not part of the Pokemon League, obviously, because there's no league in Legends Arceus, but he's got a full team of six or seven or eight, depending on how you want to consider it. But even with Giratina's both forms included, his average level is only 68, not 70. So, I'm not letting anyone slide here. I'm being strict. And then all challengers in the Pokemon League. So Blue, Trace, and everyone from Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. I'm also not considering, even though they're not part of the league, but it is a league battle. Also, most of the ones in Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, they don't reach level 70 or have a full team of six anyway. So no one come at me with that one. The only one who does have a actually fit the criteria and is in a rematch is Blue. He has a pretty cracked team in Fire Red Leaf Green when you rematch him, but but he's not, counting as a league for now. Anyway, let's get into this ranking. So as we go down the list, I'll probably start from here actually, because I don't. I'll start with red, whatever. I'll go in this order. I'll pull up their team on this document so we can see their levels, what Pokemon they're having, if they have items, their move sets. Because some of these guys, they look strong, but then you look at their moves or you look at their teams or the levels, and there's always a crack in them. We're starting off with you know, undisputed, one of the best right here. I'm not sure. We'll see. By the way, I haven't thought about this at all. I'm doing this off the top of my head. I'm gonna try to keep it exactly ordered as well. But original gold, silver, crystal, red, top of Mount Silver. That. Oh yeah, okay. Let me just explain my rankings really quickly. The hardest one, that one house in Untella Town. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. Beast, pretty strong. You're gonna need some full restores, medium. Might take your lunch money, you know, getting down there. Still stronger than any trainer in Kalos. They're the weakest ones here, but Kalos doesn't have a single trainer above level 65 or something, so they got that going for them. Anyway, Red, he goes straight to the top, easy. Um, you know, just for the story alone of going to fight yourself basically is really sick. Uh, Self-explanatory. His team's pretty solid. The also the first ever trainer and one of the few to have the Pokemon over level 80, which he will get stronger too, because you can see he's on here multiple times. He does just get stronger. Beside this guy, we'll get to him. But yeah, his team: Pikachu, Espeon, Snorlax, Venusaur, Charizard, Blastoise. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. Three starters. The Pikachu, that's a little bit of a meh pick, but it's the strongest thing in his team, so it's pulling its weight somewhat. Anyway, going down with Steven. Oh, wait, no. Oh, I guess we can go in this order. Sure. Let's find Steven. Steven, here he is. Um, See, I do think his Superboss fight is pretty sick, but it's so random. you know, like, and the way to get it is just like you're not told like unlike Red and Mount Silver where you're told like, oh, go explore Mount Silver. There's really strong trainers and Pokemon or whatever the fuck there. Steven, he's just chilling in a cave, and you kind of got to walk up to him and find him yourself. You're not told he's there. Uh, you fight him, and here's another thing: you can't rematch him. He's the one of two fights you can't rematch at all. So you fight him once, and he's gone forever. So the fact that you can't rematch him is also putting some points against him. But let's look at his team. Skarmory, Claydol, Aggron, Cradily, Armaldo, Metagross, and the only one holding an item is Metagross, which is a citrus berry. We'll put him in Beast. Maybe he'll get knocked up later. Whoa. Maybe he'll get pushed up later. Uh, but yeah, he'll stay there for now. Next, I know who's next. Oh, I forgot this guy. Okay, this is one of the weird Coliseum ones. Super Trainer Libel. This is this is the fight before the last fight in the Mount Battle in XD, not Coliseum. Coliseum doesn't have a Super Boss. I'm sorry. But basically, like the post game of XD and Coliseum is the Mount Battle, which is 10 floors and 10 trainers on each floor, and it gets stronger as you fight. But both the trainer before the final trainer and the final boss are all level 70. They don't have items. They're both. Oh, yeah, this guy's level 70. Come on now. And this guy's level 70. But Super Trainer Libel is basically just a random trainer class. They don't even have a unique model. It's a little weird that they just, I don't know, they exist. See, normally I'd drop them in the bottom tier because they're just pretty basic, level 70. However, for some reason, they decided to give this random trainer the Reggie Steel, Reggie Rock, and Reg Ice, which is like they're some of the weakest legendaries, but they're legendaries. So you got something going for you there. On top of that, they've got Electrode, Glalie, both of which kind of suck, and Shedinja, which, like, if you're unprepared, you're going to get your ass kicked, but you're not going to be unprepared for that. But for the sole purpose of it has three legendaries, I don't want to put it in bottom tier. Same goes for Battleless. He has two legendaries, Latios, Dusclops, which is a terrible Pokemon. But the back half of his team, Slacking, Salamence, Metagross, is kind of carrying him. I think it's funny that his Slacking only has three moves, which like if any other Pokemon here had three moves, I'd be like, what are you doing? But it's fucking Slacking, and the three moves are Earthquake, Hyper Beam, and Shadow Ball. So you kind of just don't need another move on him. But yeah, I'm putting them because they both are the only people here to have legendaries. I'm pretty sure they're. Oh, actually, I take it back. One other guy is legendary, I think. They're both getting the second to last just because they have legendaries. I think that's neat. Okay, this guy, um, Barry. He has technically three different fights. I'll go here where he meets the requirements for Super Boss because uh, in Diamond and Pearl he's level 70. Pretty weak. Uh, in Platinum, the first time you match him, he's 71. But then once you rematch him after beating the Elite Four 20 times, he's level 81, which makes him, for 1 year, he was the strongest trainer. He was stronger than Red because he was level 81. And you see here, Red takes it back in Heart Gold Soul Silver, which came out a year after Platinum. But for a very small amount of time, Barry was actually the strongest trainer ever. So he gets a lot of street credit for that one. His team is pretty interesting. He has obviously the opposite starter you choose, but also depending on the starter you choose, his team comp changes a little bit. So I believe this is if you pick the grass starter. He has Staraptor, Floatzel, Roserade, Heracross, Snorlax, and Fernape. The only things that change in his team are it kind of rotates. The Floatzel, the Roserade, and he has a Rapidash that rotate depending on what you have. Uh, so if you pick grass, he's got Floatzel, Roserade, and Fernape. If you pick fire, he's got Roserade, Rapidash, and Polion. And if you pick water, he'd have Rapidash, Floatzel, Torterra. Yep. Once again, only his last Pokemon is holding Citrus Berry, similar to Steven. But the fact that he was just straight up the highest level trainer for a short amount of time, I think puts him up pretty high up, probably somewhere around Steven. We'll fully order this at the end, but we'll get back to him too because he's not done either. But yeah, Diamond Pearl, Platinum Berry. And you're saying, oh, why don't I list Diamond Pearl and Platinum Berry different? It's because they have the same teams, just the levels change. That's what these slashes mean. It means they have same or very similar teams between games or in the same game. So because his Diamond and Pearl team and his Platinum team are have the same Pokemon with the same moves and the same items and what everything, I'm just counting as the same fight. So we're gonna go with his highest level here, which is 81. Anyway, next up, Red's back, Heart Gold Soul Silver. Once again, put him up here. It's just the original fight, but better. Um, let's scroll down. Yeah, this time they had to make him stronger than Barry, which I find funny. This time the Pikachu's level 88, which is I think the only other trainer to have. Oh no, oh I don't know. The few other trainers that have Pokemon that strong are Cynthia in Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and maybe I'm forgetting the character's name, but he's Alder's grandson in Black and White 2 at the Black Tower or White Tree Hollow. The thing is, he only got 3 Pokemon, so he's not on this list. But I remember his Pokemon are like level 90 or something ridiculous. But Red's Pikachu, level 88, and it's holding the Light Ball, which actually makes Pikachu pretty usable. So this time his Pikachu is not the weak link. His team's a little different. He's got Lapras instead of Espeon, and everything else is the same. So Snorlax, Venusaur, Charizard, Blastoise. Nothing else is holding items besides the Pikachu. But yeah, his teams are stronger. His Pikachu's actually really good this time, and that's there you go. Next up, once again, Black and White or Black 2 White 2. He's got the same team, just different levels between games. Morimoto, also challenge mode. For all the Black 2 White 2 trainers, I'm leaving in their challenge mode level just because I think something should be of note. This guy's team is not gonna lie, it's not the best. Livehard, Simipour, Simisear, Simisage, Swoobat, Zebstrika, and each of the monkeys is holding a Petaya berry, which I don't know what that actually does. It might power up a super effective attack. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, this guy, despite having decently high levels compared to some other ones, uh, he's just rocking with like the most basic like 2 evolution Pokemon you can find in Unova. So I think he might be the first entry in the bottom tier right now. Also to note, him and this other guy are the only ones to ever use like normal trainer sprites in the main series, not XD. But Game Freak Morimoto, and the only way you find him is just you go talk to him in the post game. He's hanging out in the Game Freak laboratory or office or whatever. So he's not actually that hard to find. Oh shit, I forgot she was next. Cynthia. I think this is I mean the top tier is named after her, so she's got to go up there. Um, yeah, she's in both Black and White and Black 2 White 2. Her team actually changes very slightly. In Black and White, she has Spiritomb, Electros, Milotic, Braviary, Lucario, Garchomp. In Black and White 2, she has Spiritomb, Milotic, Togekiss, Lucario, Glaceon, and Garchomp. Which is weird. I understand swapping the Togekiss for the Braviary because they're both flying types, but why was Electros swapped for Glaceon? That's something I always wondered. Especially because Glaceon's a Gen 4 Pokemon, which Cynthia doesn't use in Diamond and Pearl. Um, I always found that a little weird, but either way, still a really sick fight. Everyone who's played those games has that memory of walking into that one house in Undella Town and just like, you know, having a flashback to Diamond and Pearl, especially because it's a little off topic. My first game was Diamond and Pearl, so Cynthia was my first ever champion, and I remember the exact time and place of when and where I beat her. So, go a couple games, you beat Diamond and Pearl, then you play Heart Gold Soul Silver. She's not in that one. And you go Black and White, you finally beat that game. You beat that champion, or that game's not easy. And then you're hanging out in the post game. You're like, oh, this cool beach town and Della Town. You walk in the building, and then you're fucking like the hardest trainer I've ever fought. My first ever champion is chilling there waiting for me. That was pretty crazy. So yeah, top tier just for that. Next up, Nishino. Okay, unlike his buddy Morimoto. This guy's actually got a kind of difficult fight if you're not ready. His team is based on just bulk, and every single one of his Pokemon holds leftovers. He's the first one on this list to have everyone hold items. Clefable, Azumarill, Licky Licky, Wigglytuff, Alomomola, Snorlax, all with leftovers. That's a that's a pretty rough. You're gonna struggle to be one shotting most of these Pokemon for the most part. Thank God this is before the Fairy type was introduced too, so you can just kind of run through it with a Fighting type. Because if the Fairy type was here, Clefable would be normal Fairy, so would Wigglytuff, so you would not be able to hit them with Fighting type moves. Oh, and Azumarill too. Yeah, this team would be crazy if they had the Fairy type. Thank God it doesn't. So I'm gonna put him in might take your lunch money because it's not like super threatening, but at the same time, if you're not ready, you might have a hard time considering that they all have leftovers. But okay, Colress. This guy's interesting. His team is also he is the next I guess trainer to have his whole team hold items, and these items are actually good for the Pokemon they're on. Um, he's rocking with Magneton, Rotom Wash specifically, Metagross, Behem, Magnezone, Klinklang. He has crazy coverage with this. With I mean, not crazy coverage. He's got pretty decent coverage though. I don't know. The Magneton is kind of weighing his team down. At least it's got Eviolite. Life Orb Rotom, Muscle Band Metagross. This fight's actually pretty hard. Looking at these items and whatnot. This guy might give you a hard time. And the way you actually have to fight him is going to like finding the crashed plasma ship. I'm tempted to put him in that one house in Dollar Town, but he doesn't have that it factor like Red and Cynthia do. You know, we're gonna toss him in Beast. I think I want to move up this guy to you're gonna need some full restores as well because he doesn't belong with the level 70 fuckers. But okay, N is next. I know that. And this guy is actually pretty sick. He has four different teams depending on the season. Because remember, Gen 5 games had seasons. So every season you challenge him in, he'd have a different team, which is pretty sick. And every single one of his teams is completely unique. They all have held items, or actually, half of his team has held items. It looks like. I'm sorry. Um, and in challenge mode, he gets to level 80, which is pretty tough. I think I'll probably throw him into Beast as well because he's not as strong as Cynthia, or he's not as strong as Red. He's not as cool as Cynthia, but he just wants like having the four teams beginning of the season is pretty cool, and they're all deemed. So this one's water, fire, uh, rock. It looks like and ice. That's what it looks like. I'm not gonna read all of them out because there's quite a lot of Pokemon here. I'll just take a look if you're looking. That's about it. So we're gonna move on to okay, Wally from Omega Ruby, not Ruby Sapphire Emerald. Uh, this fight is pretty cool. He's the first rival that makes. Oh no, Barry's on the list. Sorry, second rival to make the list. Um, I think unlocking a super battle is pretty annoying because you have to play the battle maison or whatever, which I don't like. Uh, but his fight is pretty tough. He almost gets a nice level 80, but he doesn't quite make it. But he has a full team of six, and they've all got items, which I'm a big fan of. Roserade, Talonflame, Azumarill with the Fairy type, Magnezone, Garchomp, Gallade. And looking at this team, there's actually full coverage here. He doesn't have any type overlap between his Pokemon. All his Pokemon have some type of coverage move to counter someone else. I I mean, off of difficulty alone, you can probably put him in that one house in Delatown. All of the fact that he'll jump scare you on how difficult he actually is to fight. Uh, yeah, I'll drop him up there. Okay, next up is this guy, Red, again. But this time it's Red from Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So, unfortunately, I don't know why he's so weak in these games, but he doesn't make it past level 70. Uh, he has the same team from Heart Gold Soul Silver, but they're lower in level. So Just off of that alone, he's got to go to the bottom tier. I think it's also annoying that they gypped blue in Ultra Sun Ultra Moon because I know in Sun and Moon you can when you go to the battle tree or whatever in that game you can pick they go like you encounter red and blue because of Kanto nostalgia and like you can pick one of us to fight and everyone's gonna pick red, right? But in those games, red and blue, if you do pick blue, they're the same level. However, in Ultra Sun Ultra Moon, uh, obviously I picked red when playing those games. I was like, oh, they actually like increased red's level. And when I was going to make my super boss list, I included blue originally, thinking they increased his level too, but they left blue a lower level than red, which I think is really kind of a lost opportunity. I don't know why, because it was kind of nice seeing like, oh, red and blue are still equal after all these years. But also, when they just straight up fucking jip blue out of, like two levels or something. So yeah, that's another reason I don't like this. Also, you can't rematch him. Um, he's the second one after Steven, where you can't rematch a super boss fight. However, you can fight Red again in the battle tree, so you'll see him again in the game. Steven, he sure disappears after you fight him. He just never comes back. This guy you can see him hanging out. Um, hold on. We actually have back-to-back reds because after Ultra Moon Red is Let's Go Pikachu Eevee Red, which this game is notably a lot easier than everything else. Also, he's still lower level than his Heart Gold Soul Silver level, which is weird. But this time his team has changed up. There's no held items. Let's Go Pikachu Eevee, so we can't really consider that here. But you got Pikachu, Machamp, Arcanine, Lapras, Snorlax, and Venusaur. Um, I don't really know what like the rest of his team's supposed to be. Like I understand Lapras is the gift Pokemon. Snorlax is, I don't know what they're basing this red team off of. Because like you can say, because I know in the manga, red uses Venusaur, but in what Pokemon Generations, whatever, Pikachu's a starter. Lapras is a gift Pokemon. Snorlax is good with the Poke Flute. I don't know why Machamp and Arcanine are here, but whatever. The teams to unlock this fight, I know you have to beat all this. You have to beat six Master Trainers, and then you get to unlock Red at Indigo Plateau. Oh yeah, he Mega Evolves with Venusaur, which is pretty cool. I forgot to mention Wally Mega Evolves in his fight too, so pop a little another accolade for him. But I think we'll put him in. You're gonna need some full restores because he's not super hard, but this is a pretty solid team with a Mega Evolution, and you're on fair grounds because you can't hold items, and he can't either. Uh, but yeah, you know, next up, Mustard. This guy's cool. I like Mustard. I think he's one of the cooler characters in Sword and Shield. One of the better parts of that game, even if it is DLC and should have been the post game. His team changes depending on which Urshifu style you have. He has the opposite. So he has Mienshao, Luxray, Corviknight, Lycanroc, Kommo-o, Urshifu. And once again, the first time you challenge him, he's level 74, like average level 74. The second time, he's actually he gets stronger after you beat the Galarian Star Tournament, which is kind of interesting. So he gets to the level 79, that's on the same tier as Wally. However, he does not have any held items, which I think, especially because Mustard's a former champion, I don't know. He could be doing a little better than that. We'll put him in Beast just because he's rocking a legendary Pokemon. He gets level 79. There's like multiple requirements in order to unlock both his super boss fights, but he's up there. Honey, that's his wife. She also has two different. Also, he has a legendary that Gigantamaxes. I should put that in there as well. Uh, this Honey is Mustard's wife, and she's no joke. She has the opposite starter you chose at the beginning of the DLC. So either Blastoise or Venusaur, that both Gigantamax. And Blissey, Galarian Darmanitan, Gallade, Salazzle, and Togekiss. Um, she's got two different bulky Pokemon, and a third, really, with Blastoise and Venusaur Gigantamaxing. Um, she's got a solid team, but not as strong as Mustard. So I'll put her in the you can need some full restores. The way you unlock her fight is by giving her money. You bribe her. She asks for a bunch of money, and she just you give it to her, and she like buys shit for the dojo. But once you run out of shit for the dojo, she lets you battle her for money. It's weird, but yeah, her team's pretty solid. The Galarian Mantan with especially with guerrilla tactics, uh, like in the hands of an NPC, guerrilla tactics might not be that good. But if you're like basically, if this thing just uses Icicle Crash and you don't have anything that resists ice or something, you're gonna probably get ran through by this thing. So she's not weak, but she's not strong. Right in the middle for her. Okay, next up, this guy again. Bam, bottom. I mean, see yeah, bottom for now. We'll get to his buddies here, but Barry's back, and this time he's it's in BDSP, and because the game's a faithful remake, they give him his Diamond Pearl team and not his Platinum team. So it's the same Staraptor, Floatzel, Heracross, Roserade, Snorlax, and Fernape, where it changes the Floatzel, Roserade, Rapidash, and the starter depending on what you have. And this time they are all or four of them are holding items. I don't know why they didn't want to give it six. All six should be holding items here, but whatever. But yeah, only level 70, and the fact that it's not his platinum team kind of makes him like lame. So bottom of the barrel for you. Up next, these two are weird ones. Want to know why? Because these fights don't exist in Diamond and Pearl. They're only in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. And for a game that claims to be faithful, I find it really interesting to see the things they pick and choose to like change from the original games. But these two actually have fun fact, Don and Lucas are not your rivals in Diamond Pearl Platinum because you never fight them. Their first time you only fight alongside them. The first time you ever fight them is in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, which I don't know why they changed. That's one of the few things they changed in those games. But uh, they have interesting teams. Their whole team changes depending on your starter. Unlike Barry, who only has three Pokemon, their team comp is different between the two of them and depending on your starter. They have a lot going on. They have all six held items, and for the most part, barring this Typhlosion, they uh, all have full move sets. So, off the fact that they are new fights and they all have held items, I will be putting them in might take your lunch money because it could catch you off guard if you're like assuming the fight doesn't exist and you stumble across it. I think the Typhlosion also I'm I don't like when like Pokemon trainers don't have all four moves filled up, like fucking Trace and Let's Go. Like he's the champion and some of those Pokemon only have two moves or something. It's annoying. But I think the Typhlosion with only one move and that move being Eruption is really funny. So I'm giving it a pass. I guess it's because it's Choice Scarf. So the idea is it does Eruption, Choice Scarf Eruption every time, whatever. But yeah, these are the teams. Very interesting. I'm not going to read them because it's a lot. And I'm lumping them together because they're essentially the same thing. Oh, also something notable. Dawn has a starter, has a Sinnoh starter, but she also has a Johto, Kanto, and Hoenn starter. But Lucas has Rotom forms instead of a second starter, and he has evolutions too, or he has two evolutions. He's got fossils. There's a lot going on with these teams. I appreciate it. That way, they're not going to bottom tier at least. Oh shit! Why did I not put N where it's supposed to be? My bad. Only two left. Only two left, and we're up to Ingo. Ingo's my favorite character in all Pokemon, so I'm a little biased. But his team is pretty solid. You fight him in Legends Arceus. You have to fight his weaker battle first, and then you get this battle. And he also has another battle after this where he uses three Alpha Pokemon, which is pretty cool. But this is a Super Boss fight. He's got Alakazam, Tangrowth, Probopass, Machamp, Magnezone, Gliscor. His team is definitely supposed to reflect the Coronet Highlands in that game because it's all Pokemon you can catch there, which is pretty cool. I do like when Pokemon trainers have like themed teams per se, like the last two. How one has starters, one has Rotom forms. It's similar to how N has the season teams. I like when they do that. So the Ingo being based off of his location is nice. His team coverage is also pretty solid. Psychic, Grass. Let's see. The only thing that overlaps is Probopass and Magnezone with a Steel type. So you have barely any overlap there, and you've got a lot of electric moves. And for someone who played through Legends Arceus with exclusively a water type team, this guy's got two things that learn electric moves, and then something with a grass move. He kind of gives me a hard time sometimes, just because I like used a mono type water type team in that game. So for me personally, fighting was hard, but other people shouldn't have that big of a problem. I'll put him in. You need some fuller stories because once again, he's not super strong and he's not super iconic, but he's not. You're not like if you're not ready, you're not going to have an easy time with him. Lastly, Nimona. Spoiler: alert, I'm not a fan of this character. I know a lot of people really like her. I never was a big fan of Nimona. I always found her. Oop, up my thing. I always found her a little bit obnoxious. And the fact that her team only changes the starter depending on your starter, I don't like either. Because come on, in fucking Diamond and Pearl, we had Barry changing three members of his team depending on the starter. She doesn't change anything, which I think is lame. She could have changed the Palmot for something, or at least in Brilliant Diamond and Pearl, where Dawn has a. I don't know why this is being so weird. Or Dawn and Lucas have a whole different team comp depending on your starter. I just think it's weird that we've reverted back to like just having the same team. She's getting points subtracted for that. Her team's only level 71, and the only way to fight it is to randomly get her as an opponent in like the school tournament. So there's no actually way to guarantee her fight. You just have to keep playing that tournament until you bump into her. Essentially, her team is Lycanroc, Gudra, Dunsparce, Earthworm, Palmot, or and then the starter opposite the type of yours. Like Rock solid pick, Guja solid pick, Dunsparce is whatever. Earthworm's pretty solid, Palmot's pretty solid. Her team is decent. She doesn't have items, especially for a former champion. I think at least they should have items. So I don't know. The fact that she's only level 71, I'm gonna stick her there. And also, this looks pretty even now as a tier list. Let's order this all. I'm putting this guy last. This guy's second to last. She can go to the top of this tier. Um, oh, this is weird because these guys are all the same level, 70, and these guys are all 70 to 71. Basically, this bottom two are just these bottom two sections are just the level 70 section. But these guys have items and these guys have legendaries. But I don't put these guys above because they have those really cool team compositions. And he can go up here because he's the final boss. You're gonna need some fuller stories. Red can go first, followed by Ingo, and then this looks good. Beast. Um, this is hard because he's got that legendary that Gigantamax is. He's got the seasons team. Chorus, I think you're getting bumped down. You can go here, and then I guess this looks good from here. Uh, this is a tough between the top four up here. Wally's definitely last. I'm gonna go this, then this. So it goes red, Cynthia, red, Wally. That's what I'm gonna do. That's the list. So yeah, looks good to me. Harkle Soul Silver, red is on top. And that just makes sense. That fight is really, really cool. Uh, I think there are a handful of fights in the games that have topped this level of hype. None of those really meet the requirements for Superboss, though. I think the Volo fight at the end of Legends Arceus is a little bit cooler than this. I might be biased because I really like Legends Arceus. I really like Volo. But once again, didn't really meet the qualifications for my list. Maybe I'll do just like my favorite fights of all time in another video. But that's it for now. Uh, take a good look. And if anyone's got problems with this, uh, show up at my house and fight me.